Hello friends, Tom Downey here for College Football Now on Chat Sports, presented by BetDSI. We are into November, and that means it is hot board season. We've already seen a couple, or at least buzz about a couple of programs making changes. The big one that's already happened so far, at least in the past couple days, is Kansas, as they have announced that David Beaty will not return as their head coach. He has gone 6-39 at Kansas and was actually in the midst of his best season. But here's the thing about Kansas. This football job is the toughest of all the Power 5 programs, and frankly, it's a tougher job than I think some Group of 5 programs as well. They've got scholarship issues, which are a big problem. They had only 68 scholarship players to open the season. That makes depth a big problem and just tough overall. So even though David Beaty left Kansas in better shape, this is still far from an ideal coaching job. After all, that's why they hired the wide receivers coach from A&M in their last hiring stage. So we're going to take a look, folks, at 10 candidates that you could see Kansas pursue in this coaching search. So number 10 is Jim Leavitt. Now, Leavitt does have ties to the Midwest. Most importantly, of course, is his ties to Kansas State. He did a great job at South Florida. He helped make that program into a legitimate program. He helped build the entire South Florida program, but he was also fired from South Florida amid player abuse allegations. I think he's more of a Kansas State target than a Kansas guy, but we did want to make note of Leavitt here at number 10. And again, we'll go through from 10 to 1 in order of some of these most likely targets. So Seth Littrell checks in at number 9, and he's not a household name, but I think he will be down the road. Now, he was a GA at Kansas, a graduate assistant from 02 to 04. He has North Texas 7-2 this year, and I want to make note because they've been to one bowl game since 2005. North Texas was 1-11 before Seth Littrell showed up. Now, he again might prefer the Kansas State job to the KU gig, but don't be surprised if several Group of 5 teams or coaches like a Seth Littrell say, you know what, maybe I'd rather stay at my Group of 5 program, because if you turn around Kansas, great, but that's a hell of a challenge. So which would you rather do? Stay at a Group of 5 program and keep winning, or take the rebuilding project at Kansas, and if you win, well, maybe you have any job you want after that. Let me know in the comments section, folks. We'll get to number 8 on our list here. That's Greg Schiano, and he was going to be the Tennessee head coach, and then the public backlash prevented that one from going down. He remains at Ohio State, but it's very clear Schiano wants another shot at a head coaching gig. And don't let the overall mark with these Scarlet Knights fool you. He did a fantastic job in Rutgers, actually made that program win games and go to bowl games and win double-digit games in one season. That has not happened since. So Schiano, if he wants to take on a similar massive rebuilding project that might actually even be harder, Kansas makes some sense. All right, some more SEC ties here. How about Dan Enos? And he is the quarterback's coach right now at Alabama, so you have the Nick Saban coaching tree there, but he has experience. He was the OC under Bret Bielema at Arkansas, who we'll get to later on, don't worry. And he was also the head coach at Central Michigan, 26-36, was doing better before he jumped that job to go take the Arkansas OC job. Enos, again, is probably a lesser candidate, but a guy to monitor if Kansas wants to go the position coach route, or more likely, they're forced to go the position coach route. All right, number 6 is Jim McElwain, and he had a very weird tenure at Florida come to an end after he claimed there were death threats, and he never reported the death threats, and they actually probably never happened, and it was just a mess at Florida with Jim McElwain. Was good at Colorado State. At some point, I imagine he'll get another head coaching job, so if you're Kansas, you might as well take the risk, right? What's the downside? Your program really can't get all that much worse. So McElwain checks in at number 6. I would venture to say at some point he will get another chance as a head coaching candidate. All right, folks, today's show is brought to you by BetDSI, the internet's #1 sportsbook. Go to chatsports.com/bet and use promo code LIVE120 for a 120% deposit bonus. That is the best deal out there. Put down $100. They'll give you $120 for free for a grand total of $220 to bet with on BetDSI. You are playing with house money. Chatsports.com/bet and promo code LIVE120. All right, into the top 5 now, and I think these top 5 are legitimate candidates to definitely monitor for, even though all 10 I think make some sense. Chris Creighton at number 5, and again, not a household name. Don't let the gray hair fool you. He's only 49 years old, so he falls into the Silver Fox category. He has coached at Drake, Iowa, and Ottawa, Kansas. So he has some ties to that Midwest region, and he actually got Eastern Michigan to a bowl game. Eastern Michigan is a terrible football program. To get them to a bowl game, their second ever, and you might do another one this season, that is worth mentioning. So Creighton checks in there at number 5. I think he's a good fit there. He could be a nice fallback option if Kansas can't get one of their top targets. All right, number 4, and this one made very obvious by the connections that already exist. How about Bret Bielema, now an assistant coach with the Patriots? Kansas AD is Jeff Long. He hired Bielema at Arkansas. Fair to assume those two don't hate each other right now. Now, Bielema's tenure in Arkansas was not very good. Wisconsin was great. I think he wanted out of the Badgers program, but the Arkansas tenure did not work. Would it work better? Would his program and coaching style work better in the Big 12? Maybe. But does Bret Bielema even want to coach college football again, or will any team even give him a shot? Because he's with the Patriots right now, and he reportedly is very happy in New England. Then again, when you're coaching for the Patriots, I would assume you are happy because you're winning all kinds of games. But folks, will Bret Bielema coach college football again? Type 1 for yes, type 2 for no. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. All right, number 3, this one I would venture to say the casual fan is unfamiliar with, but you do know the program. North Dakota State, coached by KLIEMAN. 64-6 with 3 national titles as the NDSU head coach. That's pretty damn impressive, right? Does have some ties to Kansas, was a defensive backs coach in 1997, but he might be a high and top target for Kansas State. Now, Kansas firing their coach early helps them out. That gives you more time to work those back channels and get some more background research done. So KLIEMAN, I will not be surprised if Kansas wants him, but he could be a guy that waits out for a Kansas State job instead. All right, number 2 is Willie FRITZ, and don't let the record fool you at Tulane. 13-20 I know isn't great, but he is considered a coach on the rise. And Tulane, by the way, has a very similar rebuilding process as Kansas. I think FRITZ would be able to help get those scholarship numbers back up quickly. Had some similar problems at times at Tulane. Look, you can win at Tulane. I think he's turned around that program, but his record so far might prevent him from actually being the guy. And then the number 1 target, I bet some of you guys guessed this one actually. How about Les Miles? Now, Kansas has said that they want to hire a coach with experience. Well, Les Miles certainly fits that category, right? Has a national title at LSU, 114-34. Here's the red flag for Miles. Number 1, there'd been some buzz when he was interested in the Houston job that his coaching staff was way too expensive for Houston. That could be a problem at Kansas. And then most importantly, Miles is 64 years old. Does he have the energy and the want to take on this type of project? It is not an easy job at Kansas. So if Les Miles wants it, I'm sure KU will give it to him, but that is not an easy project. I know he's still fairly young, but 64 is up there. It's a lot of energy, even compared to LSU, to take on this Kansas job. And in reality, you got a little bit of groundwork done there, but you're almost building a program from start because it's still not in great shape. All right, to recap the top 10 Kansas head coaching candidates: Jim Leavitt, the Oregon DC; Seth Littrell, the North Texas head coach; Greg Schiano over at OSU; Dan Enos at Alabama; Jim McElwain at Michigan; and then your top 5: Chris Creighton at Eastern Michigan; Bret Bielema, given the ties to the current AD Jeff Long; Chris KLIEMAN, who has done a fantastic job at North Dakota State; Willie FRITZ, a potentially dark horse candidate at Tulane; and then Les Miles, the number 1 option, which I think many of you guys aren't surprised by. But folks, let me know in the comments section, who should Kansas hire as their next head coach? Is it Les Miles? Is it somebody else? Let me know what you guys think.